being a millionaire is hard. We're gonna figure it out. And even further, I want you to know that before you start investing, I want you to have the right banks and the right bank accounts on your team. Because the banks that you have, that's like your little team. It's your little mini team. Those are the people that are in charge of making sure your dollars are protected the way they should be. And actually, let me tell you why you need more than one bank and why I'm so glad that I listen to my mama. Sometimes I don't listen to my mama, but when it comes to money, most times I do. And I had just started using Chime a couple years ago. Actually, I think I was going to FinCon. It was right during that time of FinCon, I remember. And I had just started using Chime maybe 2 or 3 months before. And I was feeling it. I'm liking it. I like Chime. I don't have any like major complaints against them, but they froze accounts for about 3 days. Like it was like a nationwide, like their accounts or like the debit cards weren't working. And had that been my only card, I would have been SOL for real. Like imagine not having access to your money from the only bank account that you have for 3 days. So that's why I'm till I'm blue in the face, till I'm rolled over in the ground. I'm going to be saying that you need to have more than one bank account because having that diversity, like Mama Bougie always says, never put all your eggs in one basket, never put all your money in one bank. Like it's really that serious. So, all that to say, my first major point for today, one bank account is never enough. One bank account, and I'm not talking checkings and savings. Like you should not only be banking with one bank because these banks have no loyalty. They want more money. Wells Fargo has been caught more than one time creating fake accounts of people who don't exist. They have been caught more than once. So why would you think that these banks are so trustworthy that you should only have one bank or only bank with that one institution? It does not make sense, and you're leaving yourself open to be super super vulnerable by doing it that way. All right, I don't like. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I want you to stop. I want you to stop having having one bank account. And because of that, obviously I'm not going to leave you with like I'm not going to tell you like you're doing it wrong and not tell you how to fix it or what's better. So let's talk about the criteria that you need for your different bank accounts, right? Starting off with your savings account. Your savings account, I I'm very bare bones. I think I've mentioned it before. I am a money minimalist. I like things straightforward to the point. I don't need to be doing all that chit chatter. All right, I straight to the point. So first things first, for your savings account, it needs to be high yield. High yield means, in my personal opinion, because the yield, and I don't want you to get too caught up with like chasing a rate because once you get with a bank and they have a high yield say they have a high yield savings account, they're always going to have a high yield savings account, but it's going to move with the market. So right now we're seeing we're January, February timeframe, we're seeing really good rates. We're seeing wonderful rates like 5%, and 5%, like that's pre-pandemic rates, right? They wasn't doing it like this in 2020. But the thing is, that high yield is always going to change. Like there is nothing set in stone that's going to keep that rate the same. The bank can change that rate at their discretion at whatever point in time they feel like doing it. They don't have to have a rhyme or reason. They don't have to answer to anybody. So don't get too caught up on the rate. That is going to be like, I want you to look at that for your savings account. And I think bare minimum, again, it should be still 3 times the national average. That puts the bar in hell for real, for real. But that's still something that you want to look at. You want to make sure that there is a decent rate on there. I don't want to even say that it has to be at least 1%, because a couple months ago we were seeing things like the highest one being like 0.75%. So I just like to keep it at 3 times the national average. Whatever the national average is, that's how much I want in my savings APY. That's that first one. Then I want to make sure that I don't have the ability to have a debit card or a card associated with it. There's a caveat to that, and I'll talk about that later. Especially like with Varo. I do bank with Varo as well. I have so many different banks, y'all, and I've tried a bunch of different banking apps. Nonetheless, Varo, they require you to have a debit card to get the savings account. So I just keep it locked up in a safe, but I don't want to ever have a card. Like, I've had an Ally account for years and I've never had a debit card associated with it. So that is also on the list. And I want to make sure that I like my savings account to be completely online. I don't need to go to a brick and mortar establishment to get to a savings account, and naturally most brick and mortars have lower rates for their savings accounts. So those are like my main ones. I want to make sure that it's hard to get to my savings, because that's the whole goal. Like, you don't want your savings to be easy to get to. And I want to make sure that I'm getting the best return for having my money sit into that bank. Then let's talk about your checking accounts. Checking account, saving account too, I forgot to mention. Both of these need to have no fees. I don't like fees. I'm not a fee girl. More importantly, for the savings accounts, they'll always do like a $5 hold, or like $5 might be the most. I think for like Navy Federal, I have to have a $5 hold. And I love Navy Federal, so I'm not going to stress over that. But anything more than $5 is a tax. I think there's one of the credit unions I had growing up, $25 hold on your money. Absolutely not. That is ridiculous. $25 hold to on your savings account. Now, in the checking account, some of these checking accounts have like a monthly fee for you to operate. I don't spend that much money. I don't really need a checking account. I don't need an advanced checking account. I just need something that I can put in there to use to spend my money. I only spend money out of one account, so it does not need to be high tech and advanced. I don't believe in fees. I don't believe in paying a monthly premium to a bank for holding my money that they're going to then take and loan out to other people. Is that not madness to you? Absolutely not. For my checking though, or like my spending accounts, I do like a brick and mortar for my checking or my spending. Right now, I think I'm using Chime as my spending account, which I do like. It's not a brick and mortar, but I think that there's a lot of there's really good things that come out of a brick and mortar, some traditional banking. And because the checking account is the one that you're going to see the most transactions, it's going to be a bigger target for maybe being stolen identity or whatever. I don't keep a lot of money in my checking account to spend. I just put whatever I need to spend in there, and then I keep it moving. So I'm a fan of a brick and mortar, or I'm also a fan of an online. It can be either or, but it's just, again, you understand that your checking account is going to have the most traffic and is highly susceptible to being hacked. And that's just the fact of the matter, because that's the card that you're using the most. And then lastly, for your, if we're talking stock market investing, what platforms you want to look for, what kind of brokerage account. There's so many different types of brokerages. I like one that is always easily accessible, and that's across the board. I need something that the charts are very easy to read and I can easily navigate. And also, when it comes to brokerage, I like my brokerage to have some options, some type of maybe they have some policies where you could actually talk to a financial advisor, even if it's for a fee. I think that it's really beneficial. One that holds all different types of accounts. So I'm talking, it has a feature for IRAs. I can use my IRA. I can also do my regular standard investing. And it's just not a pain to look at and not a pain to operate, because if I can't read it and I can't navigate the website, then it's not an effective platform to invest in. I don't care if every person that has ever invested $1 in the stock market has said like this is the greatest tool ever. If I don't understand it, if me as the user doesn't understand it, then it's not as great as it's not that great of a tool if I can't understand it. So if you're having all these accounts, right? You got your checkings, you got your savings, you got your brokerage, spending, all of that. You got all of these different accounts, different bank accounts. You need to track all of that. And that goes back to being very organized and making sure that there is a place for everything. So when I'm talking keep track, what does that look like? That means you have a chart of accounts. You can do it manually. I prefer to do it manually because I just need to have some type of rhythm. And I do that every time I have a money date, is just to go up and go in, update, and look at all of my accounts. But there are also other apps that you can use. You got the Mint, you got the Personal Capital. Prism is a wonderful tool that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about, but Prism is pretty dope too. All of these different types of accounts, or all of these different types of apps that put all of your accounts in one space for you to look at them and for you to monitor. Because if you're going to have multiple accounts, you need to also monitor these accounts and keep track of everything that's going in and coming out. YNAB is also another great option too. I feel like I said a lot. And I know, friend, like, you're like, still, how do I choose? There is no right or wrong answer. But having that criteria, knowing, okay, this is what I'm looking for in this. This is what I need when I'm looking for a bank. And this is what makes me feel good. This is the type of banking institution I like to work with. Then, no matter if there's the new hottest thing coming out, I test a lot of apps and I test a lot of different banking platforms because that's just my job. My job is to test them out so you don't have to, and I can give you the straight and narrow really quickly. So that's really where we at. That's where we are today. And you don't need to have a bunch of different things. You just need to have what you need and then leave the rest of it. I hope this made sense. I know it made sense. And if it didn't make sense, you know where to find me. You can always find the Bougie Budgeter somewhere lurking on the interwebs. But before you start investing, this is how you are going to choose your bank. And I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.